Hello and welcome to ACTV 20's Health Matters. I'm Dr. Erich Parks, and I have a great guest with me today. I think you're really going to enjoy hearing about mindfulness. Now, if this hasn't entered your consciousness yet, it will be by the time we finish. So I'd like to introduce my guest, Michelle Jamieson. She is with Sierra Mindfulness, and welcome.
Thank you.
So I was so excited. Last week we got together to talk a little bit about what we were going to say, and I was amazed at the depth at which the subject of mindfulness can go, and how many souls that it can reach. So please tell everybody a little bit about your experience, how you got involved with mindfulness and how it led you to where you are now.
I've been teaching mindfulness for about 5 years. I was actually introduced to mindfulness at the Mayo Clinic. I was there teaching their employees in their Healthy Living Center classes, and my supervisor said, "We're bringing in a yoga certification. Would you like to be involved?" And at that time, I was far away from that. I was doing many running classes and body pump and different weightlifting classes. And so I said, sure, why not? It'll be fun. And it took me down this path. And about a year later, I was asked if I'd like to join the MBSR training, which is with John Kabat-Zinn out at Omega in New York. And once I got back from that week of training, I was on a whole different path.
So that really helped change you. Well, what did you discover about mindfulness that seemed to click with you? Because you were involved in many other things to begin with. So what changed? What did you find?
Throughout our lives, we're told, don't worry, forgive others, be happy, try not to let things get to you, don't believe the drama in your mind, all those things, but we're never taught how.
Right.
And I believe that mindfulness tells us how. It shows us how we can set down our troubles. It shows us how we can let go and just let things be as they are and accept things. It shows us how to calm ourselves down when we're anxious, or how to pick ourselves up when we're tired or we're feeling blue. And it's really helped me, not only in my life, but I've also seen it change others' lives.
So were you under a lot of stress at that time? Is that what seemed to resonate with you, or did you just see its potential to help others and that's what you were interested in?
I found that I was less reactive when I was driving. I found that...
Even the calmest people get into road rage once in a while. It's crazy, but
Yes,
true.
You're right. And I found that I didn't get as anxious, or things that normally would really tick me off and push my buttons seemed to glide right off me. So I wasn't particularly under a lot of stress, but I saw the potential, like you said, to help me in my own life. And then I noticed it was helping change my parenting. It helped my teaching as an educator with the kids that I encounter every day at school. And it helped me in my communication. So in so many different ways.
Well, give me a little bit of an idea of the technique, of the basis, the foundation of mindfulness that would give us all a way to, look at what it is that you do, and then we'll talk a little bit more about its application. So what's behind mindfulness?
Some people describe mindfulness as the curriculum of stop.
Curriculum of stop. Interesting. Okay, I like it.
The definition of mindfulness that a lot of people use is non-judgmental, moment-to-moment awareness. So being present, because we spend so much of our lives wrapped up in our thoughts, that our moments easily slip by unnoticed, because we're elsewhere. We're thinking about our to-do list, or worrying about what's coming up, or thinking about what happened in the past, or not actually here to experience the moment as it's happening. The non-judgmental part is very important, because we spend all of our lives, every single day, judging. We have too much, we have too little, it's too big, it's too little.
Yeah.
We judge people, we judge situations, we judge events and experiences all the time. So if you think about it for a moment, what would it be like if we could just let that go?
Yeah.
It would be so freeing not to have to worry about all that judging.
So that seems like a real interesting. I mean, that's almost Buddhism, where you let go of attachment and that sort of thing that allows people to be calm in a situation that otherwise would bring them anxiety. So the foundation sounds to me like what we're trying to do, like you said, the study of stop, the
Curriculum of
stop, to bring awareness to how we are attached to things. I mean, how would you know that you're attached unless you have awareness of that first, and then to see how being able to let that go would be of benefit. Because that's kind of a tough thing. How keeping up with the Joneses has been the American way.
That's right.
So is all of a sudden that a bad idea? Should we not do that? And I guess what we're hearing is that yes, keeping up with the Joneses doesn't do anything beneficial for us, but creates anxiety and distress in people's lives.
Yes, awareness is the key. Once we realize that the treadmill doesn't lead anywhere, we can actually become aware that we can hop off of it whenever we choose.
Don't tell that to the hamster.
Yeah, that's right.
So we talked a little bit last week about application of this, and I know you work with school children, and boy, we went through a lot of possibilities. What are some of the things that you see that might be necessary for families to get more healthy and communicate better? How would mindfulness fit into a family scenario, family units? How would you suggest people look at this as a way of improving family communication?
Well, it's interesting. I'll back up a little bit. Mindfulness is training of the mind. So it's actually a science. Technology is catching up with age-old knowledge, and they're able to prove how it changes the brain.
Oh, nice.
So with families, it's important because then you can use these tools, once you have them, to apply them to the family unit and how the family functions.
Right.
For instance, if the mom knows that the kid just spilled the milk because they were making a big point and they flung their arm out and it accidentally spilled on the floor, rather than a personal vendetta of making a mess and doing it on purpose, their relationship will change. So it's awareness of the intention. And our intention in mindfulness is just to show up. Just like your intention in going to the gym is lifting weights or improving your health, or going to school is improving your mind, getting your math skills honed. Same thing with mindfulness. You're just there to see what happens. Be curious about the moment, because we come with expectations.
Right.
If you start speaking to me, I expect you to behave in a certain way. I anticipate what you're going to say, and I might not even be listening because I already have a dialogue running in my head.
Right. I think that happens a lot. I mean, I see that in people with a blank look as I'm trying to make a point sometimes, and they'll shake their head, but I think it's just a polite thing to do. They're not really with me in the moment, as you say.
Especially with teenagers. Yes, they nod a lot, but they're vacant.
Yeah, and I'm nodding now because I agree.
And it's important for kids, too.
Yeah.
Because I went through elementary school, junior high, high school, college, and graduate school, and no one ever sat me down or had me go to a class where I learned how to deal with my anxiety, or I learned what to do when I got mad. And those kinds of situations happen with families all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And we trigger each other's buttons. We're probably the ones who installed each other's buttons.
Yeah.
And we
Good
feel
point.
very safe in getting angry with each other or frustrated because we know we'll always love each other, but that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt.
Right.
So knowing that the source of your anger might be something inside and you need to deal with it here rather than expressing it or verbalizing it to you, which will in turn hurt your feelings and make you feel bad, is very important.
Well, I know that our audience is probably thinking right now, yeah, tend to fly off the handle all the time, and yeah, she's right about pushing buttons. My gosh, families are just, this way. So how do you, or how would a person learn the mindfulness? Is this a book that you would buy? Is this a video or web page? Is this a group session, or is this a one-on-one? Explain a little bit about how people would get in touch with the actual mechanics, or the tools, as we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. There are many sources for mindfulness these days. It's very trendy.
Mm-hmm.
The gold standard, or what is becoming the gold standard for mindfulness programs, is called MBSR, which is Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. It was started by Jon Kabat-Zinn in 1979 at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center. Basically, he took all of the patients who'd been through the chemotherapy, who'd been through all the treatment, who'd gone through all the medications and all the alternative procedures, and they got to the end of their rope and they were still in pain after everything. And he said, "Come here, let me show you something." And he took them into this 8-week program, and he showed them how to sit with their pain.
Mm-hmm.
He showed them mindful movement, and he showed mindful walking, and a body scan, so they can touch each part of their body with their awareness, one at a time. And they found that their symptoms were relieved. So over 35 years, this program has shown consistent and reliable and reproducible results with people in a variety of diagnoses. And it could be something simple like stress.
Mm-hmm.
And they go through this 8-week program, and it's a step-by-step process of awareness. First, you become aware of your toes. We do some mindful eating with a raisin and spend some time with just this one raisin. So we practice mindful eating. We practice waking back up. Because when we're little, we know.
Mm-hmm.
If you see 2-year-olds engaged with a block, it's their whole world.
Right.
They see it, they smell it, they suck on it,
Yeah.
they feel it. But then we're taught, okay, set that down, we got to move. And we start doing multiple things at once. We start rushing people through things, so we disengage. We spend a lot of time filtering.
Mm-hmm.
So this 8-week program helps us get in touch with ourselves. And it has amazing results for people.
Well, that is incredible. I mean, I'm envisioning the process being one of taking small steps at first to really show us how we can become engaged in mindfulness before actually being able to use it, say, to diffuse an anxious situation or a high stress situation. I mean, you have to get to that point. So it's more than just like a hypnotic thing. It's more than just learning how to meditate.
Right.
But a step-by-step process.
I like the analogy Jon Kabat-Zinn uses of building a parachute.
Mm-hmm.
He says you don't want to be building the parachute as you're getting ready to jump out the plane. He says you want to have the parachute already constructed, packed in your bag, and on your back, even before you take off in the plane, so that once you're up in the plane and are ready to jump out the door, that you know you're going to have the tools to arrive safely on the ground.
Yeah, that's a good point, and dramatic.
It is dramatic, but we're talking about our lives.
Yeah.
We don't want to get to the end of our lives, and you're not going to get there and say, oh, I wish I would have planned some more meetings. I wish I would have ruminated about what Aunt Patty did to me 45 years ago, right? You're going to say, I wish I would have stopped. This is going to sound cliche. I wish I would have stopped and smelled the roses.
Right.
I wish I would have stopped to listen to my son's conversation when he was trying to talk to me, and I was so busy on my iPad that I couldn't. I wish I would have stopped to be there all those times. And this gives us the chance.
Right. Well, that's amazing. I know you have a program that you teach. Is it open to everyone? Is there a particular group that you try to focus on, like children versus seniors versus?
Right now I have adult programs,
Mm-hmm.
so people can sign up for that 8-week course. I also teach kids at school, and I have teen programs that they're 6-week courses. And in those teen and kid programs, I also do a lot of mindful eating because they love eating and they love flavors and different tastes. We do mindful drawing. We do a lot of mindful listening so they can be the teacher and the communicator and the student. We do mindful movement a lot so they get in touch with their bodies. Many of us have a big disconnect between our brains and our bodies. We neglect our bodies all the time. When we're hungry, when we need to use the restroom, when we're tired, we just ignore it.
Right.
When we're in pain, we also ignore it and we don't take care of it. Or when it subsides, we say, oh, it's gone, I'm fine, back at it. But we're eating ourselves. Our health is eating away. There are many stress-related illnesses now that didn't exist before because we are operating at such a high level and we can't sustain it.
Right.
We need those times to just stop and relax and recharge. Some people equate it to turning off your iPhone, not just in sleep mode,
Right.
actually shutting it all the way off and then charging it, turning it back on so you can come back with more clarity, with more focus.
Well, I intuitively understand exactly what you teach. Of course, I don't know exactly what it is, but having gone through mindful meditation, I know that that is true. What you're saying is that I can be pretty keyed up from, like you said, doing 100 things, and then I just wanted to really center and bring myself down to a level where I can think and function. And I think we talked a little bit about this. What I discovered in doing that was not just being calm and being able to, manage my life better, but I was more creative. I would come up with solutions to things that it just never occurred to me before. So do you focus on that? Is that a part of this? Is a creative outcome for people to bring themselves to more connectedness, I guess, with their base self, their understanding of who they are? And I mean, is that part of the understanding that you look for?
It is. Yeah. With kids, I use a mind jar, so I have some blue sand in the water. And I talk about how our minds are usually all keyed up, like you're saying. The sand is swirling, the water is cloudy, so it takes us sitting down and being still and letting all of those thoughts settle down so that the water becomes clear.
That's beautiful. I love your analogies. They make so much sense. I really, I can't imagine this, not being good for everybody on the planet to, let's come to some common ground here. What constitutes common ground? Well, being at one with yourself, or being at peace with who you are, and not, like you said before, not worrying about what Aunt Susie and all these other people did 20 years ago, but how to, move forward, how to create more abundance in your life and connectedness to people and things that matter to you. So.
Right, and sometimes when you're keyed up or when you're anxious, it's those times if you just stop and just sit down and take a look, really take a look at what it is that made you angry. You'll say, oh, well, I really wanted to be right. I wanted to be right, so my ego flared up, and that's why I was angry. Not because they did anything wrong or because I was really disagreeing with them, but I really wanted to be right. Or you find that you're anxious because a long time ago a similar situation happened. So you're painting this picture, remembering what happened before. And you just need to realize this is a brand new situation.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the same. We also forget we have choices. Every single moment we have choices. And it's not a coincidence when people say, just stop and take a breath. Because it helps. It absolutely helps. It creates just a little bit of space so that instead of a knee-jerk reaction, you can formulate a response. And typically, it'll be more intuitive, more yourself coming through rather than just this quick, I don't like that, push it away, send it away.
I've always dealt with it.
Right, yes.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to come back to something that you talked about because I'm looking at, from my standpoint, a practice of people who have a lot of pain and they want relief. I agree with you 100% that people sometimes are moving without much thought to that movement. And that has to do with how you get out of a chair, how you bend over to pick something up, how you drive your car. I mean, all these things contribute to compensations that go on in the body. We tend to walk around in a pattern that we don't think about. And that's where a lot of pain is kept. And I think the doctor who started this program that you studied under, I think he was brilliant, because people in pain oftentimes don't understand that it's because of how they've managed to hold themselves, how their body has compensated for either multiple injuries or stress or minor problems that build up over time. So I know a lot of our audience has pain, and they would like to know, without taking medications, is this really something that could help me? And so I have a suspicion that you have maybe one or two things that you find commonly that you could talk to us about and say, well, this is how we will help people be more, like, I don't know, centered, or what are some of the tricks, if you will, of how to bring mindfulness back to our movement to maybe help with reducing pain?
Pain is very complex because there's not just the pain involved, but there's anxiety about the pain.
Right.
Once you establish a tunnel or a path of pain, right, once it starts, then all the thoughts get triggered and the
Right.
emotions rise. Oh my gosh, this is going to really hurt. This has happened before. It could be overwhelming, and here it comes, and it rises like a
Right.
wave.
And I won't be able to work. I can't pay my bills. And then it just
Right, it
mounts.
escalates. And so what mindfulness does is it heads it off at the pass. Just like with anxiety or drama, right? You can say, hey, wait, whoa, wait a minute, back up. This is a new moment. We can choose here. And instead of seeing it as something solid and something hard, you can actually see that it's soft. Or you can start to look at the edges of it, or work around your pain. Maybe even start to dance with your pain or move with it, and find that it's not solid. It doesn't prevent you from living. So many of the people Jon Kabat-Zinn's working with have to make a decision. Do I want to just exist and be my pain? Or do I want to live and work with my pain and then establish a different relationship with my pain and manage it? So that's what mindfulness has to offer to pain, is so you can start to be different with your pain.
So it doesn't eliminate the pain, but
doesn't
your
eliminate.
ability to be more present and more functional despite pain being there. Well, do you have any cases or any, we don't have to mention names, but
Yeah.
just examples of how this has made a difference in somebody's life?
In the video Healing in the Mind that Jon Kabat-Zinn did, he has patients obviously in chronic pain. And toward the end of the program, week 7 or week 8, there was a woman who said that she had severe spasms in her body. She said she felt one coming on. She hadn't had one for a while. And she placed her hands on the coffee table, and she took a couple deep breaths, and she let go of all the anxiety about the pain. And then the pain left, just like that.
Wow.
And I
Is
have...
that typical? Is that?
It is.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, you learn to manage it. You learn to distance yourself from it, to know that this is not me. Here's my pain, here is me. Yes, the pain is here, it's not going away. It might be right in my face. But if I look this way, I can see around it. Or if I say, hello, how are you? It might sit down next to me
Right.
and accompany me, but it's not going to be overwhelming.
Right.
I also had a patient who had Parkinson's, and that could be, it's a lot of this.
Right.
And so she had to learn how to take care of herself. When she knew it was coming on, she didn't berate herself or belittle herself or get into, woe is me, I can't do this because of this disease. She said, okay, After I do this wedding, this big event, I need to go to bed for the next day, and I need to take care of myself. Or I can't go to work 5 days a week. I need to work at home 1 day a week. So you learn that this is my body, this is who I am, just like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
You learn about yourself. All right, I would like to be functioning at this level, but my body says no. So how do I need to do that? How do I need to make this work?
Wow. I would love to live in a community of people who have been through this program, and I see no reason why this can't be something that's taught in school. My gosh, can you imagine our high school seniors graduating with these abilities to, not be rageful and not have anxiety about every little thing that goes on? Because I have one of these. I know high school kids can be very dramatic, and not sometimes in a very productive way. So we're looking at how we can make our community better. I mean, I know you're in it for that. This is not a big thing for personal gain for you. You've personally experienced a lot of improvement with this and growth. I would like to know how can our community come together? What can we do to bring mindfulness to more people?
Mindfulness is gaining ground in all different facets. They're bringing it into corporations like Google and Apple and Target.
Mm-hmm.
And they're bringing it to the military, working with different people there, taking it into the prisons and working with inmates. They're bringing it to teachers and to school kids, nice. Realizing that, like you said, everyone at every step of the process needs to have this kind of training, and it makes a difference in their life skill. How to maneuver, not to let things bowl them over, but just ride the waves. Life would be so much simpler if we could ride the waves. So in schools, it's called social and emotional learning.
Social and emotional learning, right. Okay.
And it's being adopted by more and more schools, even in the Sacramento area. So that is one of my passions, is to bring it to school kids. I work with kids even down to 2nd and 3rd grade, and it's amazing what they can tell me about stress and what it feels like. Even just standing in an upright posture and feeling happy thoughts, and then standing in the same posture and feeling sad. They told me there is a distinct difference, and they described it to me. So they know, we just need to make them aware of it so that it's on their mind.
Well, I know that the community is going to want to rally behind you, and you have a website that has been on the show, so I would encourage everybody, please go find out about the research that is behind mindfulness. Feel free to contact with Michelle for any questions that you might have, how this might benefit you or friends or family members. And if you have any connections with schools, let's see if we can get this into the schools. If not, we'll have to have, what was it, Michelle's finishing school?
Yes.
That was after school. But we would really like to see more of this in our community. Any parting words that you would like to encourage our audience? Be mindful.
Just be.
Just be. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us and giving us some insights that I think could make our lives so much better. We really appreciate you and all your work, and I'm looking forward to making an impact in Auburn and this whole general area. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.